Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, ji ayanu, goedemorgen.
Pagheragale, ni hao, churashumbe, washwale, ohio, guzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabiam, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTB World and are watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very energetic Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan on a fine, cold Thursday morning over here in Islamabad. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Also, I'm doing, well, a little cold.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. What about you, though? Are you enjoying the winter
Yes,
so
I
far?
am enjoying the winter so far, alhamdulillah. I'm glad that my kids really do not have to go to school every morning, so I can use the heater in the morning as well. So I think I'm having a good time till the time the schools are going to open up. But for all of those people who've been giving us their feedback on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, we are all ears, and there are a lot of people who said that we speak a lot and we
We'll
do
try
not
to
give
control.
much time to our guests as well. So we are actually going to follow that today, ladies and gentlemen. Keeping our introduction short, we just want everybody out there to be safe and
Absolutely.
do healthy and wealthy.
Absolutely. And Shahzad, one more thing, though, just a tiny one again, I know. I hope it's not going to be long.
Sure.
So, you know, almost every other day we do come across motivational posts and quotes on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, right?
Yep.
And, well, sometimes things stick to you. Like you really want to adopt onto those good behaviors that you read about, especially when you notice that they're not a part of you. Like, for example, if you read somewhere that patience is the key to happiness, and you realize, hey, I need more patience. So I'm saying, if you do come across such things, and if you do meet people on a daily basis who keep showing you or telling you, I mean, beautiful things in a positive way, it is going to change how you lead your life.
Exactly. I think that it is what Shiza is actually trying to refer to over here is that, you know, one of those missing characteristics when you are truthful to yourself. You know, you obviously want to pick up on it, and when when you kind of start thinking about it, you know, it becomes a habit as well, and it becomes a characteristic as well. But there was just one small thing, and it was very interesting. It happened to me yesterday. So I was walking out of my gym, and so I was in conversation with somebody, and we had a plan. We had to go somewhere. So after a while, when I got back to that person, the person wasn't there, and I went to this other person who was actually sitting right next to that person. I'm sorry that if there's a lot of person.
But we got
But
it.
yes. So I went to that person. I was like, hey, you know what? Where's that person? You know, we were actually supposed to go somewhere. And all of a sudden, he just flipped. He was like, do you think I'm your messenger and stuff like that? And I was like, hey, buddy, take it easy.
For
you know?
no
And,
reason.
Yeah, and for no reason. And I just left the place. But I just couldn't get over how badtameez it was of him, you know, to actually say it in that manner. And then I kept on thinking that, you know, Shahzad, if you want to be a great person, you know, just in my head, all you have to do is you have to be forgiving. So ladies and gentlemen, this art of forgiving is something which is very important, and art of not expecting anything in return is something which makes you great.
It does. 100% agree with it. But it's also really hard. If you don't have it in you, it's really hard to sort of develop it. But it's a good thing that you didn't respond. So on his behalf, maybe I'm going to say, you know, maybe he was having a bad day, maybe there were troubles at home. But no, nothing can actually, you know, justify your rude behavior to someone. That is what I always say. You can be having the worst time of your life, but you cannot use that reason actually to treat someone badly.
And
I mean, I can't condone that.
Yeah, and that truly means that, you know, you were raised differently as well.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're going to do this with people, come on, don't do this, ladies and gentlemen. You know, never be rude to anybody, you know, if there's no reason for the other person to be rude as well. You know, please don't do that. But other than that,
yeah, right. Shahzad, so you know, lately I really do want to learn about parenting, especially about children, how their mentality works. It intrigues me, and I'll tell you why. So I have this beautiful, beautiful niece.
Wow.
My elder sister has a daughter, mashallah. Ever since she came into our lives, I will be honest, so we used to be like an uptight, tough love type of family, right? And ever since she came, we are in love with her, of course, but with each other. I don't know, it's sort of a new bond. It's just so beautiful. I just feel like everyone's personalities change just by the presence of this little angel. So the kind of impact kids can have on our lives, and actually the kind of impacts the guardians or the parents should make on kids' life is what I want to talk about. But before that, one more thing, the niece that I'm talking about, are we ready for it though? Because
we're ready.
All right, it's Amal Mehdi, ladies and gentlemen. She turns 5 today. She's the most brilliant child I know. Oh, I wish I brought her to the show today. We do have pictures for her. I want to wish her a happy birthday. Do you want to join me?
Yes, let's do that.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amal.
Happy birthday to
you.
you. Happy Hash Day, Amal. You've got a great khala, or in fact,
Khala,
yes.
yes.
You've got a great khala, you've got great parents, and you've got great grandparents as well. So, you know, you're blessed to be a part of us, and we are blessed to be a part of you too as well. So for all of those kids who are out there and whoever is actually celebrating their birthday today, happy Hatch Day, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And now coming down to what we're talking about today. So
Let's
ladies and gentlemen, this week particularly is actually known to be as
Children's Day.
Children's Week. Children's Week in the first place. And you know, for we do a lot of shows. We talk about women, we talk about men as well, and we talk about all of these different days which are taking place all over the day. But we cannot forget about you know, our future generations, ladies and gentlemen. But as a matter of fact, I was very flabbergasted because of the fact that when I got up to some statistics, you know, I got them in my hand. I was like, you know, this is a very bleak situation and we really need to do something about it. So that's what we're going to speak about even today. In fact, tomorrow it's going to be Children's Day as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we will be doing another show dedicated towards that. But today we particularly wanted to talk about child rights, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking about all of these things, I think I would like to highlight the most common issues and problems we have over here in Pakistan, and we really need to come over it. Okay, so the research is probably a little older, but I think it is still relevant, and we have
It's the latest available, actually.
It's the latest available, ladies and gentlemen. So when we talk about children, ladies and gentlemen, the total population of children in our country is 48%, which is quite a lot. And then talking about that, I think that the Constitution actually enshrines the rights of survival, education, health and protection. That's something which everybody needs to know. But even then, unfortunately, we have the highest number of newborn deaths. Polio is still an endemic over here in Pakistan.
Malnutrition
and,
for that matter.
7 million children are out of school, out of which 60% are girls, ladies and gentlemen. Pakistan was ranked 113 out of 120 countries on the Education Development Index, so we pretty much know where we are. Sexual abuse is on an increase, and child labor crossed 12 million mark. So I think that there are a lot of
well, I feel like we have definitely sort of painted a bleak picture to start with, but this is the real picture and we need to talk about it for the mere reason of, well, generating awareness, yes, and then generating the sense of responsibility to change those things.
Exactly.
So without further ado, let's be introducing our brilliant panel of guests over here.
So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by a child rights expert, and she happens to be Miss Valerie Khan. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. Dera Manana. Dera Manana. Wonderful. And alongside Miss Valerie Khan, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by somebody who in the recent times actually emerged as a warrior, and he's doing wonderfully well now. You know, his smile is contagious. He's an author himself. And he's somebody who we want to refer to as a scholar. We wanted his intake on this subject as well.
Such an eloquent speaker.
Yes, and he is Mr. Sabauddin. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Wa alaikum salam, and very warm good morning.
How are you?
All well.
All well? Recovered? Everything's fine?
Yeah.
Well, Ashazad, I feel like, you know, our guests today here are not sharing the same energy as we are, but probably they will get into it. So, well, you know what, the topic that we are actually going to talk about today, we sort of have touched up on it before, but this is something that's never enough. And you being the expert over here, I think it's brilliant. In fact, only apt to start the conversation over here. Now, we did share some facts over here, but just if we were to ask generically to cover all the rights, what are basic child rights, let's say 5-year-old would have?
Oh, so
we're talking under teens right now, okay?
Right, right. So first, that child would have the fundamental rights that are enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, that Pakistan has contributed to and has ratified in 1990. And that includes right to life, survival, development, as well as well-being, and clearly that means also being protected from any harm and discrimination.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. And then when you talk about the right of education and primary health, of course, and shelter, whatnot, that comes later on, or is it like...
No. I mean, education, of course, you have the non-formal education, which is part of your parental duty. You know, the healthy boundaries, do's and don'ts, that's part of it. You have also early education for children, which is also very necessary, especially how to protect yourself and others. Hygiene, these kind of things. But also you have a health which is supposed to be there for the moment moment you're born. And you refer to infant mortality, or stunting, right to food. This is a serious concern indeed.
Exactly. And let's talk about it. Let's build up on this as well, because this is something which we are witness to every single day. I'm very sorry. But God forbid, whenever you're roaming around on the streets of Islamabad even, which happens to be the federal capital of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, we see a lot of child beggars out there. And it seems like as if nobody's actually thinking about child rights over here in Pakistan. There are these child rights committees, UNCRC as well, who are actually working in that direction. But unfortunately, we're not able to kind of, give them what their rights are, or let's not even talk about whether they know about their rights, because they're children by the end of the day. I think it's our sole responsibility to give them their rights.
Well, I mean, I don't think we can say that nobody cares about these children. I think we need to be honest without denying the challenges and the socioeconomic realities, the inequalities that have also been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. That's another element. I think we need to acknowledge the fact that the Pakistani state, especially since the last 10 years, has been working very, seriously on, first of all, enacting legislation to protect children. Developing action plans to protect their rights, not give them, because a right is inherent. The moment you're born, you possess that right, but enforcing those rights, trying to put in place systems and structures to ensure that children who are at risk or in need of care or protection can be reported. So yes, there is a lot more to be done, but I think we need to acknowledge the recent efforts, especially that have been made to establish child protection institutions, such as Child Protection Welfare Bureau in Punjab, the Munkur in KP, child protection units in Balochistan, the National Child Protection Center, which is currently being prepared by the Federal Ministry of Human Rights, child courts. So those are elements that once consolidated, hopefully, I'm hopeful that by this year, end of this year, we should see concrete example of coordinated child protection mechanism that will make a difference.
Wow. And that's brilliant. That's something that we're really looking forward to, of course. I mean, since we know this is the future of all the nations as well. But moving on to you, Mr. Sabahuddin, do you think that the social fabric of the place where a child exists really matters in terms of the rights that he will be given? Let me try to explain it better. Now, we talk about child beggars right now, right? And I think I stand with Miss Valerie over here, where she said we cannot point fingers on institutions or people that they're not helping, because hundreds of people we know are helping. It's a method. I don't know if you know what I mean. If we have often talked about road mafia as well. It's a business. Even if we do go and provide them with the food for that day or the books, it's going to happen again tomorrow. So is it the social fabric that we need to change? Is it even something that we can do about?
There are two things.
Okay.
First of all, we all know who the child is. Anybody, for most of the laws and for most of the countries, anybody under the age of 18 is considered a child.
Okay.
But we do not understand what a child is.
Right.
So when we see a child, we look at him as the most vulnerable creature God has created. And then we take him.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is. It is, because if you see even a baby zebra, as soon as after it's born, it's able to walk and move around.
Yes.
But for human, it requires a lot of time for him, maybe 2 to 3 years to stand up. So answering this as a society, that what a child is most important.
Right.
Child is not a property.
Of course.
Parents think that the child belongs to us. He is coming from the parents.
Right.
But in fact, saying this, they're committing blasphemy.
Okay.
They're committing certain act of sacrilegious, because he is a unique creation who has come through the parents.
Yeah.
And similarly, the society should not consider that they own the children.
I definitely agree with you. Just adding on something to that so you can answer that too. Mr. Sabahuddin, where you said a child is not a property, we agree with you. But this very notion or the acceptance of this thought is not prevalent in our society. So I'm going to sort of change the question, and where you said it's not a property, do you practice that? And was it hard for you to practice that in your family?
Yeah.
It's getting interesting.
Because being a parent first, when first time you have a child, the first thing that comes into mind is that, oh, now I can teach him. So you automatically assume the role of a teacher.
Right.
But that is wrong.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
What is right?
That is the time to learn. There is the time to learn from the child.
Yes.
Because the child is by himself, by design, the most happiest creation created by God.
Exactly.
And he is the best at creating opportunities to be happy.
You give them a bag of Cheetos, they'll be busy and happy for 5 hours.
No, but don't give them Cheetos. Imagine, guys, I mean.
So he is the one who should be telling you how to live your life.
Exactly.
But what we do here is that we try to teach him, indoctrinate him, telling him that you must listen to me, I am the boss around, I am the one who is bearing your responsibility, I am the one who is feeding you, who is clothing you, who has given you the house to live.
Yes.
So by saying that, we in fact break that relationship, the ideal relationship of friendship that a parent should have with the children. And same goes for the society.
Yes, I think that's
The
beautiful.
society takes the children as the property.
Yeah.
But a property, unfortunately, that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
You yourself said that so many of children roaming in the streets, so many of children with a stunted growth, they are not finding their meals. So it means that such a valuable gift by Almighty, such a wonderful creation, we have left it on the streets.
Exactly, and you've very rightly pointed it as well, and I think that this was a very different perspective to look at things as well. Thank you very much for sharing this perspective with us too as well. But now, thinking a lot more about your perspective, there's this one thought which came across my mind, and that is that in the first place you said it's the most vulnerable being in the first place. Now, talking about a vulnerable being who is actually not able to speak for him or herself, I mean, obviously the parents will be in control, number one. Number two, if we see it in developed countries, if the parents are not looking after a kid very well, the government comes in and says, hey, it's not your child, it's our child, because we have been paying for the kid. Even if it may be for the fee, may it be the health care, may it be anything else, and they take the child away as well. Now, when we come down to such a conclusion where either the child is going to be labeled as ours by the parents or by the government, which is better?
I think the responsibility lies on the society as a whole is to create a safety net for the children, for the child. The government cannot do it by its own. The resources the government have are not sufficient to do that.
Okay.
The civil society independently cannot do that. So there has to be a partnership between the government and the civil society. An umbrella provided by the government in creating a network of all the NGOs and the INGOs and the civil society organization and the entire non-for-profit sector coming in to create the safety net.
Exactly.
Secondly, when I say that the child is not a property, I mean to say is that we should let the child explore at his own and then give him the information he requires to live. He should not be roaming around, going to his friends or going to the strangers for that information.
Exactly.
It is the parent who is supposed to give that information. But provided if that parent himself has learned how to impart that. Because if there's a barrier that has come up when a child looks at the family or the society as the people who boss him around, then I don't think that the education or the knowledge the parent is going to impart is going to work, and he is definitely going to go to his friends or the strangers or in the wrong places to find that information. The safety net is supposed to be created by all of us.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's great, and thank you very much. You've been marvelous so far as well. But moving back to Ms. Valerie Khan as well, and there's this one important thing which I would love to incorporate over here. So just yesterday, my daughter came up to me. Alhamdulillah, she's 7 years old now. And she was like, hey, can I dye my hair? And I was like, what color do you want to dye your hair? And she was like, light blue.
Oh, cute.
And I was like, how old are you? She's like 7 years old. I was like, you know what, till the time you're going to be independent and that you can take your own life decisions, till that time you cannot do that. And once you start to do so, it's your choice, whatever you want to do. Now, what I want to come back to is you just said that, the parent shouldn't actually be like, hey, you know what, I'm providing for everything and this and that. So what do you think I would have done in that situation? Let her dye her hair. She's 7 years old.
I think it really depends on the type of communication you're having and then the child's personality. You know, I think it's difficult to give tailor-made recipes. It's more you pronounce a very important word, the method, the methodology. I think your daughter felt acknowledged first because you outrightly not rejected her proposition, and you ask a question. So you seemed interested, and there was a dialogue between you two. Now, I think, again, respecting the child and loving the child and protecting the child does not mean that you're going to do everything that the child wants. Exactly. All right, you have a parental duty of caring and protecting and educating. But giving that child the space, first of all, to voice his or her opinion, and then giving a rationale for taking that opinion into consideration and then going for it or against it. It's not always what the child wants. But explaining while in a rational manner and then giving space for further dialogue, that's what you did, and that's a very good example.
That's great. I even told her that, avatars dye their hair blue, so you really don't have to do that. But there's another important aspect. Now imagine her mother straight away said no. And since she said no, so that's why she was actually asking me. And then I was like, hey, you know what, we can probably get a hairspray, which is not permanent.
I'm going to give you something for her.
You can dye your hair blue, and then we can wash it whenever we want to wash it. So she was smarter. She came up that, my this cousin has actually dyed her hair, my this cousin has dyed her hair, and why can't I do so? And then all of a sudden I was like, come on, let's go, let's get your hair dyed. I agreed. And then her grandfather said, hey, you know what are you doing? So, a lot of people having to participate in a child's decision, do you think is the right thing? Even, I think, talking about child rights in the first place.
And generally speaking, not only because Pakistani families are like huge.
Yes, definitely. Well, you definitely have an anthropological reality, right? Where the decision-making process may vary according to the environment you're in, and you need to, of course, take that into consideration. But again, I think at the end of the day, it's about ensuring that the child feels acknowledged and listened to. And then the outcome of that dialogue does not necessarily always have to be what you want. And that's life, by the way. We don't always do what we want, and life is not always what we want. But we need to feel acknowledged and respected in our citizenry and in our possibility to view our opinion and contribute to the decision making, even if the outcome is not exactly what we would like overall.
That's beautiful. And as much as I would like to talk about child development, it's such a long thing, Shahzad, I don't think we can even do justice to it. But since we are talking about child rights, one thing we definitely should not miss out on. Ms. Valerie, and to you as well, Mr. Sabauddin, early age marriages. Now, this is something when we look... early child marriages. Is that the right term? All right. So living in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, I'm sorry to say this, I'll be probably penalized. We cannot openly talk about it. There are thousands of laws and loopholes which will come into it. So there is a bill which sometimes states 16, one states 18, but there's no law. And I don't know if there's going to be one. Okay, you let me know about it, right? Fixed. And then can someone actually go and call someone out, hey, this was the law, and I've been violated my right to this. Can that happen?
Well, and it is happening actually right now. But there are laws in Pakistan against child marriage. And the first one dates back to 1929 and was actually introduced to protect children. And then recently, the Sindh province has also enacted a Sindh Child Marriage Restraint Act, and Punjab has also reinforced the penalty for child marriage. So let's be very clear. Pakistan does not condone child marriage. However, in the practice, there is a dichotomy between, I would say, a certain, in my view, distorted interpretation of Islamic jurisprudence and what the law says. And we also have other safeguardings that the Pakistan Penal Code puts in, such as the fact that intercourse with a girl of less than 16, regardless of the age, is rape. All right. And we also have a jurisprudence from the Lahore High Court that very clearly describes the responsibility of the nikah to ensure that, there is consent when you marry, etc., etc. So if we go back to the, again, enlightened Islamic jurisprudence, if we go back to the declaration of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Khartoum and Cairo Declaration, they clearly say that child marriage is a harmful tradition. Why? Because you have 50% more chances to have the mother having serious health issues or even die at childbirth when she conceives before 20 years of age. You also have 50% more chances of the baby to be stillborn if the mother delivers before 20 years of age. So Siat you have very huge problems.
Exactly.
Right. And sorry, Shahzad, I have to cut you over here, but I have to take this further. Ms. Valerie, it's amazing actually for us to learn about the laws and what the penal codes even stands for in terms of saving the woman or the girl or any child for that matter. But that's not the problem. Every other day we see newspapers. I'm not going to state out news over here because probably I'm not supposed to. You know what I'm talking about, right? How is room for that to happen still? If there is a consent between two families, regardless of the fact if there's a consent between the girl and the guy, regardless of the fact what age the girl is, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So in that case, who is going to go to the girl living in a downtrodden segment of a province, not going to name again, early, in her early childhood, who wants to enjoy toys and whatnot, who is going to go tell her that this is the number you should call to protect yourself? It's not going to happen.
Well, I don't want to say it's not going to happen. I think we need to work for it to happen. And you have example, where it has happened. Child marriage is a cognizable offense.
Yes.
The police is legally entitled to intervene, and we have several examples in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, for example, where the police intervened before the marriage celebration because someone had informed them. All right.
Perfect.
You've got other activists such as Samar Minallah, for example, who worked with the police. We're also doing it. Capacity building sessions through the Judicial Academy. So what I'm saying is that it is a challenge. We have much more work to do and to give also awareness at community level, and that's why you need those child protection mechanisms where the moment a case is being reported, then the authority can immediately intervene, rescue the girl and start the proceeding. But we also need to have the courage to promote enlightened Islamic jurisprudence and work on law enforcement.
Absolutely. And which is why we've actually taken this humble initiative as well to actually speak about this subject. And I think building up on that, what is more important is that, going back to my school days, I've never realized that any of my teacher told me about what my rights were. And I'm being very honest.
Same here.
So, Sabahuddin Sahab, I think I'll move on to you with this question, and that is that, they teach us Sally and Red Apple and I don't know what, and they never tell us about what our rights were, even as kids. I still remember one of my friends, his parents were actually posted in the United States of America back then, and he once was beaten by his mother, and he actually called 911. So the parents actually waited for them to come back to Pakistan and beat the hell out of the kid.
We know
and
that
he still
story.
remembers that. And he still remembers that. But to have such a system, we really need to promote it. We really need to promote this culture, because in such a manner, we will be protecting the child himself or herself as well. So what do you think the education institutions need to do?
Before moving on the educational institutions, I don't feel that the primary responsibility belongs to the teacher. But you said everybody needs to work together?
Yeah,
we have to. And I also don't believe that we have brought the ideals of this child protection from the West, particularly the Geneva Convention 1924. You might have read about the orphanages and the system of child protection in the 12th century and 13th century by the Ottoman Turks. And on the similar plane, the system run by the Christian missionaries to protect the children. So the primary responsibility falls on the parents and then on the teachers. So do you recall, I do not recall my parents telling me my rights. If parents do this first, then I think we can move on the educational institutions and the teachers. You are right. Now, the good thing is here that awareness has come. And now we are much aware. We tell our children, for example, we tell them not to go to the strangers is a danger. We are trying to knit that safety net around our children.
Good touch, bad touch, yes.
Yeah, now we are teaching them. And now we are also trying to teach our children to look at the streets, look at the children, have compassion for them, and find means to help them. So we are trying to create an awareness. And educational institutions, I think now, are trying to do their bit, whatsoever the syllabus is or whatsoever the teachers are trying to do.
All right. Well, there's hope, right? I mean, we're really looking at a future generation which knows their right, and by just, Shazad, by just knowing your rights, I think that definitely shapes your personality and gives you that extra boost of confidence to achieve whatever you can. I remember my mom always telling me, fight for your right, fight for your right. I didn't know what my right was. I didn't know what to fight for, you know what I mean? So I think the parents do want you to stand up.
Yeah.
Exactly. I learned to fight, unfortunately. Your parents do tell you to stand up for it, but I think you have to be really explicit in sort of mentioning the rights that children do have.
Yep.
One very important mention that we cannot forget, Shazad, the Kashmir Incident recently that took place. Muhammad Baksh Bariro is the assistant sub-inspector of that area who literally took his own daughter and, you know, took the brunt of the whole situation. It was held, you know, everything was carried out successfully. The girl was safe. The victims, of course, later on were safe as well. I think it's people like him who can really bring a change, right?
Exactly.
He could do anything. He could really let the thing go. He could sleep on it as well, but he did not. I think while this is a good thing or a good virtue everyone should have, we should appreciate people like this so that, of course, to inspire more people.
He's our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Definitely.
We really need to follow his path as well. But thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. And the conversation was reassuring because the policies and the laws are in place. All we need to do is raise more and more awareness every single day, which we're going to do tomorrow too as well. But thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation. For everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, children are just like flowers. All you need to do is just water them and let them grow through the sunshine. We are actually going to head out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we just feel like listening to some good songs.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's change the mood. Let's do this together. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very superb Shahzad Khan.
I knew it.
Ashmi. I did it after a very long time
Yeah,
as well.
I
We
know.
hope that everybody out there is actually looking after themselves and their loved ones as well. And we earlier were in conversation with child rights experts as well, ladies and gentlemen, and scholars. We were talking about child rights. And since we were talking about children, so I thought that a mellow tone would actually do justice with that as well. Keeping the tone mellow, even in this segment, ladies and gentlemen, we were actually very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who claims to be a Sufi rock singer and a musician. The last time he was here in the studios, he shared with us that he's going to release his own music. He's released 2 of his music videos amidst COVID times as well. And he claims that he's actually there's a fight now whether I can still claim to be a Sufi rock musician or not. But we are glad that he's made it to our studios. And do you want to say something before I introduce, or do you want me to introduce?
Yeah, let's just do it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by the one and only and the very amazing Shiraz Ahmed Toor. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Salam, Shahzad, how are you?
Absolutely perfect.
Welcome back, Shiraz.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
all
much.
right, so here's the thing. We know that we don't have the videos right now,
Yeah.
but you did release the songs. First of all, let us know how you felt doing that, because originals, right? And the genre, how did you go different with it?
Well, basically, whenever this question has been asked, I actually get back to like 17 years ago when I started music. So it took me 17 years to release something.
Aren't you
out of
17
it.
now?
I was going to say.
You can
Around
say,
that.
yeah, I shouldn't
22?
say about anything
22?
about my age.
All right.
I'm in sweet 16s, right?
That's good.
That works. All right.
About the songs, yeah, it took a lot of time, and because we were working on some Sufi music before that, and then we decided to release something which people like me should understand. I do Sufi music, but it's really tough to understand what actually the Sufi music tells you,
All right,
and what
okay.
actually it tells you to do. So the songs I have released, one is kind of a mild romantic song,
Okay.
another one is completely dead rock song.
I think that the mild romantic one is actually going to be very useful these days as well. It's winters, everybody
It's
wants
not.
to go for a long drive.
Let me tell you, Shahzad, it's not.
It's
Because we aren't having that much events nowadays.
Yeah.
So,
So you thought of coming up with a romantic soundtrack as well, which
Obviously-
is
obviously people get to know
Bhiga
us.
Sahi
Yeah.
December
Yeah.
type.
which is great. We're going to talk about your music videos and your music itself as well. But there's one more question which I think is very important, and I almost ask every musician out there, and that is that I've come across so many musicians because I earlier used to be a video jockey for a music channel. I've worked there for 4-5 years. So every other musician I was in conversation with, I came across a bunch of musicians who were like, this is our music. If you like it or not like it, this is what we're going to do. And then the same bunch of people complaining that we don't get any shows. And so I kept on telling them that you really need to make music which a larger gathering would love to listen to or would actually hit the masses. And they were like, hey, you know what? They can do whatever they want, but we're still going to produce the kind of music we want to do by ourselves as well.
Okay.
Which obviously eventually didn't make them end up in a category where Alhamdulillah Atif Aslam is, or Rahat Fateh Ali Khan is, or Sajjad Ali Saab is. So what's your take on this? Because you have one heavy rock song and then you've got one romantic song. Which one got the response back?
Alhamdulillah, both of them got it. My tactic was to release a song for those who actually listen to the music.
Okay.
And one for those who go to the lyrical part of the song, and who enjoy the story behind it.
All right.
So, you are perfectly right about this, that musicians nowadays, they need to work on the commercial music.
Yeah.
I would categorize it as like commercial music, and then there comes a part where it's totally musical thing. And
Yeah, because if you want to do it for yourself, just be at
Do it in
home
the
and sing it
room.
for yourself.
sing it for
that's
yourself. And even in concerts, we even if I have released 2 songs, I won't be going like straight away singing my songs on the stage.
Of course.
I would have to build up something like singing those songs which people are hearing nowadays,
cover.
which are in fashion
course,
nowadays.
of course.
They are listening to it.
But one more thing, now this is very interesting for me to actually, well, I'm expecting an interesting answer. Of course, mostly the music that you produce, it is Sufi rock and whatnot, and
Yes.
you may also pick another genre later on. But you have a guilty pleasure, like, my playlist is something,
Like the
but
blues.
secretly
Yes.
I will listen to Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, you know what I mean?
Indeed.
Do you have a guilty pleasure?
No, I would say listening to multiple genres, it's useful for a musician.
Yeah.
It is.
But do you secretly listen to something that you know you will be judged for?
I never discussed it on
Oh.
the channel. But
So
yeah,
it's a
okay.
yes.
Okay, now that you have asked it, yes, I listen to some of the songs, like funny songs. You know, the people who make funny versions of songs.
0, 0.
Yes. No, I'm very fond of listening. Jingles. I'm very fond of listening to these songs. And let me tell you a very quick incident. I was on stage and I was about to perform this song, and this tune, you were just saying 09, and my guitarist, he started playing this, and I didn't know that mic was on, and they were like they were waiting for me to sing, and I was like 09, 0, and when I realized that the mic was on, it was so embarrassing for me. Like for like a couple of minutes, I was just.
People must have enjoyed it.
Yeah, did no one join you because everyone knows the tune?
Yeah.
No, they were just like they were stunned for a minute.
They were confused.
Oh my God! This is the guy who used to sing classical Sufi rock songs. Let's see how he comes up with it.
So I think whatever the audience enjoys. But
even Asim must have started with Kokomo Mujhe Bhi Do. So
I got to know it like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he started
Really?
way earlier. Yeah,
Achha,
he did it before Kokomo as well, and he's been a child star as well.
Yeah.
But yes, since the audience enjoyed that, I think it's about time that our audience is actually going to enjoy some eloquent vocals of yours as well. So please go ahead.
Are we going to get your the latest romantic one yet?
You want to listen to the romantic one?
Yeah, why not?
Actually, whatever you've prepared, let's do it.
Let's go with this romantic one.
Yes,
do
let's
it.
do it. This is an original, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't heard it, this is your time to hear it out.
Shiraz Ahmed Toor coming your way.
पहाड़ों से परे जहां में चले मैं और तुम जाने जहां सितारों से आगे चल के जो मिले पढ़े वो किस्से मैं और तुम जाने जहां लिखे दास्तां सनम आरज़ुओं का हम बनाए नया जहां क्या कहूँ इस कहानी को क्या कहूँ इस रवानी को एक नया कारवां मैं लिखूं तेरी मेरी दास्तां मैं लिखूं तेरी मेरी दास्तां मैं लिखूं गुजारे लम्हे तेरे जो संग सुहाने मेरे पल अनजाने होके बिताए तेरे आंगनों में ओ तू भी तो हाथों में हाथ डाले चलती साथ देखे मुझको सपनों के हवाले कभी रोना नहीं सपने खोना नहीं आजा तुझे अपनी जान जा लिखूं तेरी मेरी दास्ताने लिखूं
Wow, wonderful.
And also so sweet. The lyrics are like so sweet. I love listening to it as well.
And the best part is that everybody else, people even behind the camera are actually clapping.
They're enjoying it.
And I've always told you that, you actually truly deserve to be one of those playback singers who actually have a very major role in promoting a film as well,
Absolutely.
Thank you so
and
much.
that needs to be your ultimate destiny as well. But this is something which I'm thinking for you. But what do you think about yourself? What do you want to be?
I actually want to be a live singer, particularly,
which you're good at as well.
Because,
do you enjoy live audience?
I miss live audience.
Is the response not scary? Like, what if they boo you?
Well, they won't.
I would love if if they boo me. It was back in 2003 when I got booed.
Oh.
And after that, I just I cried a lot. Backstage, my band was, why are you doing this? Well, pagal ho gaya kya?
Right.
And I was like, I went on stage, I sang, and they didn't like it.
So I mean, what I'm trying to figure out is that, you know, back in 2003, are you from the family of Wonder Woman? You know, people who are not actually going to age. So if you were singing,
I'm the only one in my family
2003, and now you're singing in 2020. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, mashallah.
But it's always great to have you, Shiraz, and we really actually want to promote as much as we can, because you truly deserve to be promoted. The song which you just sang is a wonderful song, and it's yours. That's the best part. It's an original, and I think it's about time. This was the time when a lot of musicians have taken advantage of and have produced a lot of music and good content as well, which is great. But what are you looking forward to in next 5 years, and what will be the last song which you're going to share with us today?
In next 5 years, I am looking forward to to be singing actually. What I am made to do.
That's
I
nice.
am actually, because I have a strong belief that if I haven't been made to sing, if I haven't made to do this thing, I wouldn't have been doing it.
Yeah.
Like for a long time
nice.
now.
Exactly. So just keep at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have some clarity is good.
Yeah, and this is something, ladies and gentlemen, which I think for myself as well, you know, there are times when you're up here, there are times when you're down here, but you know, it's a continuous movement, you know, it's a trough,
it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, and then, you know, you go up as well. But the only thing which I remind myself when I'm down here is keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And once you keep at it, you will be where you want to be. It's about having happiness from the inner self, you know. You feel great about what you do, you know. So being on television every single day, I'm happy. I'm a happy lad. So do whatever makes you happy.
Absolutely, and I think that should definitely be the wrapping message for today. Do whatever makes you happy. And if it's something really unique, that thing that makes you happy, do let us know as well through our social media pages. We'd love to share with everyone out there as well. You can write to us for feedback on our Facebook page with the name of
World This Morning on your television screens down below.
On Twitter.
On Twitter, it's World This Morning without a G.
Daily Motion on YouTube.
Daily Motion on YouTube, it's World This Morning again.
And the repeat of the show you can
5 past midnight, ladies and gentlemen. Till the next time, look after yourselves. Shiraz, over to you. Sing us whatever you want to sing.
Okay, so this one is Sansons Ki Mala.
Oh
I actually love it.
Same.
We love it too.
Everyone loves it.
सांसों की माला पे, सांसों की माला पे सिमरूं मैं पी का नाम। अपने मन की मैं जानूं और पी के मन की राम। सांसों की माला पे सिमरूं मैं पी का नाम। प्रेम प्याला जब से पिया है, प्रेम प्याला जब से पिया है, जी का है ये हाल, है जी का है ये हाल। अंगारों पे नींद आ जाए, कांटों पे आराम। सांसों की माला पे, सांसों की माला पे, सांसों की माला पे सिमरूं मैं, सिमरूं मैं, सिमरूं मैं पी का नाम। सांसों की माला पे सिमरूं मैं पी का नाम। यही मेरी बंदगी है, यही मेरी पूजा। सांसों की माला पे सिमरूं मैं